She's trying to get you upset at retirees saying we shouldn't subsidize their health insurance because they make so much money being $84,000 a year.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
I saw this tweet from Katie Britt that really frustrated me, and it's about the shutdown. And we've talked about the stuff that's going on with the shutdown, and I've got so many frustrations with the way that the shutdown is being covered, particularly like on right-wing media, talk radio and stuff like that. There's an attempt to say that, this is all about the health care for illegals. And we've talked about this multiple times, but I just want to reiterate, and you can like look this up for yourself, and you can verify what I'm saying here. There is a law that was signed by Ronald Reagan that says emergency health care, emergency medical care, like in the emergency room, has to be administered. Like you can't just kind of leave people, dying in your waiting room or on the streets. If somebody comes in, you got to treat them, and you worry about payment later. And I think that there are lots of things that need to change about our healthcare system, right? There are so many problems with it. But one of those problems is not that, doctors rummage through your pockets before they give you life-saving medical treatment, right? That seems like that would be a worse world to live in, where before any health care is given or any surgery is administered, they rummage through your pockets and see if you've got an ID or a credit card or something that they can put it on. That seems like that would be a worse world to me. And so the federal government reimburses some of that care that is, administered in an emergency way. It's not very much, but they reimburse some of it. And so obviously, in some cases, you're going to get undocumented immigrants taking, who are administered emergency aid. And some of that is, some of that some of Medicaid covers some portion of that, right? And so the Republicans are trying to make that like a central portion of the fight, and that is just not what it's about. Like, Republicans are not saying that we should have hospitals rummage through people's pockets to make sure that they can pay before they administer health care. And so the Republican plan is to force hospitals to give health care to undocumented immigrants, to give life-saving emergency medical treatment to undocumented immigrants, and not reimburse them for any of it. That's the Republican plan. And so what happens under that system then? Well, the hospitals are going to have to pass that cost on somehow. So they're going to pass it on to the other insurers, and they're going to make healthcare increase costs for everybody. Right? That's the mechanisms of what's going to happen under the Republican plan. And so the Democrats, as part of, like a very, very, very small part of the fight over the ACA subsidies, are saying like, well, if the federal government is going to force hospitals to administer emergency medical care, we should probably reimburse some portion of it if the person cannot pay. That seems reasonable to me. But the vast majority of the cost that we're talking about is over these ACA subsidies. And, I like to go over some of the numbers every time that I talk about this, because it is so startling. Alabama Arise has a good fact sheet about this. You should check it out. And you should, you should be a member of Alabama Arise. They do a lot of really good work. If Congress does not extend the ACA subsidies, then 98% of people who are enrolled in ACA marketplace healthcare, basically 100% of those folks are going to see their monthly premiums increase, because basically everybody in the marketplace gets subsidies. The average marketplace premium in Alabama will increase by 93%. That means that 50% of the people on the marketplace are going to see their premiums increase by more than 50%. That seems bad. 130,000 Alabamians could lose health insurance, And this loss of health coverage would cost Alabama $1.14 billion with a B, $1.14 billion in economic activity and 10,000 jobs in 2026. That seems bad. And so the Democrats are saying, well, look, we don't want that to happen. And so we are going to, we're not going to provide votes unless you allow this to happen. And look, Republicans, they don't need Democratic votes to do anything, right? You know that now there is a rule that says that for legislation like this, you have to have 60 votes. Well, guess what? You can change the rule with 50 votes. So Republicans are, they're the ones behind this. They can change it at any time. And they can get the Democratic votes if they just say, okay, fine, we're not going to increase healthcare costs for hundreds of thousands of Americans, for millions of Americans. Fine, you got us. We're not going to hurt working people. And so one of these, and the thing that really set me off about this, a tweet from Katie Britt, U.S. Senator from Alabama. She said that every reporter should ask Democrats a few of these questions. And the one that really set me off was, should taxpayers subsidize health insurance for an early retiree couple who, despite being retired, still make more than $84,000 a year? This woman is trying to stoke up class warfare against 60-year-olds, a 60-year-old couple who makes $84,000 a year, which when you're a couple and you're making $84,000 a year as a household, that means that each of you are bringing home $40,000 or some other division of $80,000 a year, right? Maybe the guy brings home 60 and the girl brings home 20. She's trying to get you upset at retirees who are making $40,000 a pop in their retirement and saying that, we shouldn't subsidize their health insurance because they make so much money being $84,000 a year. Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate. Yes, I do think that if somebody has been able to work their whole life and they have the finances and they have saved up their whole life and they've got the finances to be able to retire at 60, and the only thing that is keeping them at work is that if they retire a couple of years early, then their health care costs are going to be tens of thousands of dollars a year, then yes, we should stop that, and we should allow people to retire early if everything else in their life is such that they can. I don't think, actually, that it's a good thing that we are seeing people retire later and later and later. I think that people should be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor towards the end of their life. I don't think that we should have, people who have to work as Walmart greeters at age 90. I think that's bad for the world, that we live in a world where that is the case. And here, Senator Britt, literal millionaire, worth $10 million, maybe tens of millions of dollars. A lot of her wealth having come from her husband, who was an NFL player who benefited from unionization in the NFL, was a member of the NFL Players Association, which is not as strong as it could be, I suppose. But there's a lot of good things, that the NFL does for its players that would not have happened but for the Players Association. And then, making $250,000 a year, more than that, as a senator. And, all of her investments and everything like that. A millionaire telling you, however much money you make, that you should be upset that a couple who makes $80,000 a year can retire. Like, that is so freaking gross that she wants you to be upset at somebody making $80,000 a year if they can retire a few years early. Like, why are we not upset at the millionaires and billionaires who have gotten all of these tax cuts from the Republican administrations, instead of taking that money and making it so that maybe more people can retire early? Or at least more people can retire at the normal retirement age. That's the people that we should be upset about. We should be upset about the people, the owners of these multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporations in Alabama who are exploiting our people, who are paying them poverty wages, or wages even that aren't poverty, but then, paying them decent wages, but making them work in unsafe working conditions, not giving them a voice on the job, and taking so much of the profits that we generate here in Alabama, companies like Hyundai, Mercedes, Toyota, taking the profits that we generate here in Alabama and then sending them off out of state so that some shareholder can make more money. Like, those are the people that we should be mad at. You should not be mad at an early retiree couple who makes $84,000 a year and who then might, for a couple of years, get subsidized health insurance before they get on Medicare. Like, that's crazy that somebody like that is trying to make you upset as somebody who makes $80,000 a year. That's just wild. Wild to me. And, look, I think some people are falling for it, right? I think some people are falling for it, which makes me sad. 844-899-TVLR is the phone number, 844-899-8857 if you would like to call in. Interested in hearing your thoughts on this. Like, do you think that it's bad that a couple who has worked their whole life might be able to retire 2 or 3 years early and then get subsidized health insurance until they can get on Medicare? Is that a bad thing? I don't think so. 844-899-8857 if you'd like to call in. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us in the chat. Johnny is a Teamster out of Local 767. Matt in the chat said they've had 15 years to come up with a health plan alternative. Nothing, nada. Yeah, that's funny. Well, and the reason that the Republicans do not have a healthcare alternative to the ACA is because the ACA is a Republican plan, right? That's the dirty little secret that they don't like to tell you. Why is the ACA ultimately, it's better than what we had before, but ultimately it's still a really, really bad deal. Why is it so bad? Why are healthcare costs so high? Well, part of the reason is because it was a Republican plan that relies too much on the market. And other countries where they don't have these problems, they have a single payer health insurance system, or the government runs all the hospitals and stuff. And there's like very, very few places for private actors. And ultimately a lot of their healthcare stuff is they have less of a role for the market to play. And we allow the market to run wild in our system, and look where it gets us. Not in a great place. And, look, you can identify that the ACA is a Republican, conservative, market-oriented plan by just knowing anything about the ACA and seeing, like, what are the mechanisms that it wants to accomplish its goals. It's through markets and incentives and things like that. But some people are going to hear me say that, and they're going to be shocked because they've never heard that before. And they're not going to believe me, and maybe they don't understand things about markets and incentives. Well, it came out of the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation is the conservative think tank that created Project 2025. Guess what? They also created the Affordable Care Act. And Mitt Romney ran a state-level version of it in Massachusetts before he tried to run for president, and that's basically where Obama got the idea. Benjo says, Ask your doctor if insurance is a total crap show. Yeah, I'm sure they would say yes. Huntsville Dim Worker says other countries treat without questions, even about citizenship, provide recuperation help and follow up better, and have vastly better outcomes. Obviously, removing the for-profit motivation entirely is key. Yeah, I agree. Union Gus says Labor Notes podcast yesterday was about the FU Network's letter about what else is at stake. It's also about dismantling agencies and consolidating power in the executive branch. Yep. Union Gus also says $84,000 in any major metro is so little. Yeah, I mean, $84,000 in Alabama is like fine, right? If you're a couple and together you bring in $84,000, you are not living large, but in most of the state of Alabama, like, you will be fine, but you're not rich. And that's what's so frustrating about, I mean, she's literally trying to gin up class resentment against middle class retirees. It's so crazy. Huntsville Dim Worker says 1 in a million Katie Britt, because she is headed for similar territory, she thinks. By the way, they killed off the Walmart greeter position, says Union Gus, replaced it with one that only sometimes greets and does more work stocking and working the floor, slashing the waste. I still see lots of greeters. I don't often go into Walmart, but when I do, I typically see a greeter. Worse, the greeter position is now classified as security loss and prevention. Yeesh. Oh, that's bad. Could you imagine being paid like basically minimum wage to be a greeter and be asked to like chase down thieves? Don't get paid enough for it. TWY says something cheap eggs, something Bay of America, something illegal, something but Biden, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that's how it goes, right? When you have these conversations with folks, that is typically how it goes. It's very frustrating. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.